And it looks like I am live, coming to you from downtown Los Angeles, outside Los Angeles Police Department headquarters here in downtown LA. Little look at the skyline, and maybe you'll get a glimpse of City Hall back that way later. This is the second night in a row that there is an anti-police protest here in Los Angeles following the death of George Floyd over in Minneapolis, where there are major protests, major riots taking place. Last night, unfortunately, I missed it, but there was some significant action, although nothing compared to what is happening in Minneapolis, but action here in downtown LA, where Black Lives Matter protesters, as you can hear people scream Black Lives Matter behind me, the protesters last night went onto the 101 highway, or freeway as it's called here, and blocked a section of the freeway and got into quite a scuffle with a couple of California Highway Patrol cruisers, smashed up some windows, and one person, if you see in the video footage, was on top of the hood as one of the CHP officers was driving away, and he fell off. So there has been action here, nothing compared to what's going on in Minneapolis, but nonetheless, you can hear the chants. Lots of people angry at the police excuse the mask problems. I don't want to have to lose the mask, but I might have to. So as I rolled up here, immediately I could hear the chants of people screaming, "Fuck the police," and something along the lines of "Fuck you, terrorists," or you police are terrorists. They've got a lot of chants. Right now, Black Lives Matter is the main one. I'll take you closer up so you can get a picture of who they're screaming at. There aren't a whole lot of officers standing guard out here, but there are some. So we're outside of LAPD headquarters, and you can see a group of officers gathered here. Not too many though. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, something around 15. Although now it looks like there's some action out on the street. I thought before I might have seen someone bumping into a police car out here. I don't know. We'll take a look if there's anything going on. That's where the crowd is looking at the moment. From the news reports, as you're hearing sirens now, from the news reports, yesterday there weren't any arrests despite all of the action. Well, let's see what's going on. You see people flipping off the police cars as they drive by in the middle of the street.
Right now! Oh shit!
Okay. So things are heating up here. We are in downtown Los Angeles, I believe on 2nd Street, outside of LAPD headquarters. Oh, you can see this car is knocked up. The patrol car that just drove by was marked up with, I think it said "fuck 12" on there. And you can see a dent. There's now a water bottle being thrown at. More water, lots of water bottles being thrown. A bit of a scuffle involving a patrol car. This man just threw a water bottle. Oh, a skateboard thrown. You could just see right over here, I hope, that there was a skateboard thrown that hit the car, the patrol car as he was driving away. So it was right here. Are we on 2nd? I believe we're on 2nd. So right here in the middle of the street, a few different patrol cars just drove up. I think it might have been to rescue or to move the one car out of here that seemed to be in the line of fire. And they did. It looked for a second like some of the officers might be closing in on the protesters, but they weren't at all. The protesters closed in on the officers and far outnumbered them. And it was the officers who fled, effectively, drove off and got pelted with water bottles, and even a skateboard hit one of the cars, hit one of the patrol cars as it was driving off. I don't know if you saw that. I hope you did. And the protest continues on the lawn here in back of LAPD headquarters. Let's see if I can flip around. All right, there we go. Sorry, I was in the wrong mode before. I was in selfie mode. I'm out of selfie mode now, and here we are. Protest continues on. Let's see if there is a police response to their patrol cars getting pelted with water bottles and a skateboard. Here comes the "fuck the police" chant.
Fuck the police! 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 Fuck the police!
For those of you just tuning in, we are outside Los Angeles Police Department headquarters. It seemed to be very peaceful as I arrived, albeit a lot of chants, "fuck the police, you terrorists," stuff like that. But then moments ago, a few patrol cars drove up and were promptly pelted with water bottles, a skateboard, and maybe some other objects, and drove off as they were surrounded by a large group of protesters. Now the protesters have moved back to where they were before. The banging you hear is that's a skateboard being slammed against a trash can. Oh, you're welcome, Clifford. It's effectively the drum here, kicking the trash can, hitting the trash can with a skateboard. That's the loud banging noise you're hearing. And once again, not such a large police presence right here. You've got officers on the steps, but only about 1, 2. They're fewer now. There are about 15 officers out here moments ago. There's a skateboard being slammed against. I'm starting to think he's going to break that skateboard, but I guess not. And the officers don't seem to be responding whatsoever, just standing still with all the screaming and banging in front of them. Sorry about that. Now we've got a lot of protesters kneeling and toning down the chants. I'll give you a different angle of the shot. Although they're definitely not silent. Still people scream "fuck the police," but most of the group right out in front is now kneeling. I see a comment about people being without a job because of a virus. If things calm down, I might get a chance to ask some of them about their general gripes. Maybe they extend beyond George Floyd and beyond police. Maybe not. At the moment, though, I'll stay glued to this action. This guy right here is leading the "Fuck the Police" chant at the moment.
Fuck the police! 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 Fuck the police!
Now they're standing back up. And more officers coming down the steps, although still not many. Some officers, though not many. I see Elaine C. commenting, it's been a while since the last revolution.
Here they come! Here they come!
So more officers now lined up on the steps, but still not so many. My mic's saying I'll have pepper spray in my eyes before long. I just caught that comment. Well, I'd like to avoid the pepper spray. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if they're... Elaine saying may share this on Facebook. You can share this wherever you want. Please be my guest. The numbers right now aren't so large in terms of the officers standing guard on the steps beside the railing. I mean, it doesn't look at the moment like they're about to attack, but they are essentially on their own turf. You're looking at LAPD headquarters. I'll give you some more shots of the rest of the group. Where is this? We're in downtown Los Angeles. That is the LA skyline. We are right outside Los Angeles Police Department headquarters. So maybe you can see, maybe I can give you a shot of City Hall as well, so that that building right there is City Hall. It's directly across from LAPD headquarters, and we're out back of LAPD headquarters right now. Downtown Los Angeles. And the crowd goes quiet. Let's see if we can hear someone saying something. There's a "We can't breathe, neither can you." I'll give you another shot. Here's the "We can't breathe" sign. I believe the crowd has Antifa or toolboxes of state. I don't know who here is Antifa. Maybe there are Antifa here. I don't know. Here's a prosecute. I do not see social distancing, Mike says. No, there is not much social distancing here. Not a lot of social distancing right here. Although there are quite a few people wearing masks, as you can see. Masks. Not everyone, but many people wearing masks. Actually, I think the majority. I think most people. Looks like practically everyone is wearing a mask.
motherfucking peace. No motherfucking justice. No 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 justice.
Trump 2020 comments. I don't think we've got a lot of Trump 2020 people here. Oh, we've got American flag beanie.
Try to use text messages.
Watch there, watch it.
We've got a blonde lady next to you trolling. Right now, a large crowd heading back over to the streets. Let's see if there are more patrol cars over there.
Well, let me keep coming.
For those of you just tuned in, about 10 minutes ago, maybe a little more, the crowd, as it's doing right now, moved over to the street, and 2 or 3 patrol cars pulled up, and they made U-turns before pulling out and driving away. And as they were driving away, some of the protesters pelted the police cars with water bottles. One hit a patrol car with a skateboard. Maybe there were more objects thrown at the patrol cars as well. Commenter saying it's 11:34 p.m. so it should be dark. It is definitely not 11.
Represent, brother.
It is.
Gotta represent.
Would you like to say why you came out tonight?
Because my little brother, got killed in the penitentiary in East Texas 2 months before he was coming home. I mean, James Hendricks, my little brother Jimmy, represent. I love you.
All right, the protesters, as you can see, have almost entirely left the outside of LAPD headquarters, and they're now walking down what I believe is 2nd Street. For those of you who know me, you know I haven't spent a lot of time in this city or even this country in recent years, so I think the last time I covered something down here was Occupy LA, which was, I guess, almost a decade ago. But the protesters are walking. Yep, this is 2nd Street. They just crossed Spring Street. Almost everyone has departed from the LAPD headquarters property. And we'll see where they're heading, and we'll see what might transpire. So down 2nd Street, the group goes. Last night there was action on Highway 101, or the 101 freeway as people, or the 101 as people refer to it around here. It's GTA in real life. I didn't play much GTA as a kid, but maybe it reminds some of that. So last night there was action on Highway 101. I don't know if there is intention among this group to return to the 101 or any of the other freeways. We'll see. Good, tell them that they probably deserved it. Like you said, unemployment. All right, so the protesters are now turning up Broadway.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter!
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Okay, so now the protesters, as you can see, are occupying a downtown Los Angeles street. This is Broadway, and there is traffic coming in our direction, but the protesters have essentially taken over the street here. Looks like they're getting some support from a car coming by, or maybe cars, plural. They could be heading in to make a stop at LA City Hall. I don't know. We'll see where they go, and I'll try to keep pace. See a comment about people burning down businesses. To my knowledge, none of that has happened yet in Los Angeles. Maybe I shouldn't say yet, but I mean, at least in response to the George Floyd death, it has certainly happened in Minneapolis. And by the way, I should mention, I'll mention that later. Let's see where they're heading. So you can see the protesters occupying Broadway, now turning on First. They are indeed heading toward LA City Hall. You're gonna get a picture of LA City Hall right about now. And let's see where they head. I'd estimate that look for Antifa, they're setting fires. I'd rather not run into Antifa, but gotta keep my eye out nonetheless. It looks like it's a crowd in the hundreds. I don't have a really solid estimate for you. See, okay, walking down First Street, officer riding by on a bicycle. Here's, for those of you who requested, I mean, I don't know who all is tuned in right now, but back when I was returning to the US, people were asking me to cover the homeless situation. As you can see, there are tents set up all over the place in Los Angeles. This is right outside City Hall, and there are lots of tents. There are far more on the other side of downtown, over in the Skid Row area. So now it looks like they're circling the LAPD headquarters.
Damn fucking right we are.
Would you like to tell me why you came out tonight?
Black Lives Matter. Fuck cops.
Fuck the LA Times.
What's wrong with the LA Times?
The most historically conservative newspaper in the American West. Anti-union, founded on fucking everybody who's tried to organize for anything to be going on in the city other than what's going on now. Fucking real estate empire. Look at the LA Times on Saturday. They devote 60 pages of full-color spreads in the real estate industry, basically fucking for free. They've been conservative all along.
Fuck the
So what direction would you like to see out of the Times and out of the city in general?
I want there to be more of a multiplicity of media in Los Angeles. Maybe bring back the LA Weekly as something other than a cannabis rag. You know, something that it used to be, like a free press. As opposed to only for-profit industrial newspapers that are owned by outsiders for the most part. At least the LA Times has belonged to an Angelino for like the last 3 years. But he's still a fucking billionaire.
We are on the opposite side now, outside of LAPD headquarters. I'm going to continue the conversation if you're willing. So,
Who am I talking to right now? What are you?
My name is Josh Friedman. I write for a few different publications. One's in California called Cal Coast News, and right now you're live on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So, regarding the George Floyd situation, what specifically brings you out here tonight?
I mean, I want there not to be this same police force in existence in Los Angeles in the future. I want to dismantle it and replace it with something else.
What would that be that you would replace it with?
I mean, I think we'd have to start with an existing institution. You know, we actually have other policing forces that, you know, run this part of the country.
The sheriff's department or what?
The sheriff's department. It's not like I'm for the sheriffs, though. We've got all sorts of private security. We've got all sorts of fucking community policing ideas. You know, there's a history of activist groups having policed the pigs themselves. You know, like Black Panther Party, Brown Berets. So yeah, American Indian movement. You know, communities have policed themselves in the past. We can bring that back.
I have heard chants earlier of abolish the police.
Yeah.
Have you spoken with other members of the protest or Black Lives Matter? Are they offering solutions like that?
I mean, police abolition is a live movement. We call ourselves abolitionists in the tradition of abolition going back to the late 18th and 19th centuries as an ideology of getting rid of the structures that make our world so socially and racially unequal. We could probably do that, in the same way that slavery seemed impossible to abolish. They abolished it. It took the Civil War, took fucking executive order to make it happen, but it happened. It's entirely
Oh, here we go. We gotta fuck the police. Or fuck the police being sprayed on a garage that I believe leads into LAPD headquarters. And
yeah, hit their gate right there.
and now we're getting another fuck. It looks like we have another fuck the police. So fuck the police on two, looks like garage doors that lead into LAPD headquarters. Show you where we are. There's LA City Hall towering above us. Police department headquarters here. The protesters just circled LAPD headquarters, and we'll see. It doesn't look like they're returning to where they were camped before, outside the back. This looks like they are walking. Oh wow. I forget my streets in downtown Los Angeles. What street are we on? Coming up on 2nd, but Spring's over there. I forget which. Let's see. Is this Main? All right, yeah, this is Main. So the protesters are now walking down Main in the opposite direction of traffic. To show you again, they just completed a lap around LAPD headquarters. We started this broadcast right here. You can still see the police officers stationed on the steps. And the action, for those of you who are tuned in at the very beginning, right here on this street, 2nd Street, I did at the beginning of this broadcast show film, I think I got it on camera, some police officers driving up in patrol cars and then promptly getting pelted with water bottles and one skateboard. And as you can see, the protesters, there's another something being sprayed, ACAB. So the protesters just circled City Hall, not City Hall, they walked by City Hall, they circled LAPD headquarters and are now walking down Main Street in the opposite direction of traffic. Not that there's a lot of traffic right now, but the street is pretty much occupied by protesters. There's a look at the skyline. I'll try to take a look at some of the comments. UN officially created New World Order, announcing Agenda 2030. Every business they destroy will not come back. Some businesses are partially reopening in Los Angeles right now. I just stopped at Best Buy before coming here to get a power bank to make sure that I'm not going to run out of battery on this broadcast. And we need to line up on little social distancing dots and then one person at a time go to the entrance to the store and make a purchase by way of telling them what you want and someone going into the store and picking up for you. So some businesses are starting to reopen here, but slower than much of California. And the attitude here is quite a bit different than south of here in Orange County, where I was broadcasting to you from on the last live stream. Commenter saying, I don't know about virus, it's something else. Who wants to lock down people? Best Buy is not mom and pop's business. Well, yeah, I mean, Target's been open all this time. It's interesting how, in a sense, winners and losers have been chosen in terms of who's essential, who's not essential. As I was discussing before, prior to returning to the US, I was getting requests to cover the homeless situation here in California. And here's another look at a little homeless encampment, or maybe it's technically a tent encampment, positioned on Main Street by 3rd Street. Here's an officer riding by on a bicycle. There's another look at the homeless encampment. And we'll see where these protesters head. Down Main Street we go. Someone's banging something over here, although he doesn't look like it's part of the protest. He's got a nice coat though. It's got a little character too. So the protesters have quieted down a bit, although I'm lagging a bit behind. Here are the guys pulling up the rear, and I'm gonna catch up with the protesters toward the front. Someone's asking, do you believe that justice will be done? If that question is posed to me, justice isn't for me to decide. These protesters are choosing winners and losers. Who will the mob sacrifice? What's the worst you've seen since you've been out there? The worst, I guess, in terms of the most action and most violence. There's been very little violence, but I did see protesters pelting police cars with water bottles and one skateboard, and I did see one dent in the side of a police car as it was driving off. Now, protesters have made a right turn, and here they are in the middle of a street with some traffic, and some of them are stopping, some of them are continuing on. Are you looting in LA? I'm not looting. At the moment, I don't see any looting. There could be looting, although I'm not aware of it, and I didn't hear any reports of it yesterday. There was a little violence yesterday, although I'm not aware of any reports of looting. Yeah, they are screaming no justice, no peace, or somewhere. Off and on they are throughout the protest. It's one of the chants that keeps popping up, along with Black Lives Matter and fuck the police, I hear more than anything else. He's meant people in general, not me. Like I said, I'm not aware of any looting reports, although who knows what's going to pop up. So now I think we're turning back onto Spring Street. Is this Spring Street? I think. And there are parked cars here, and you can see there's traffic being blocked off by the bicycle cops. So the bicycle officers are, one bicycle officer almost crashed into someone on a bicycle over there. The bicycle officers seem to be assisting the protesters as they walk through the street. It's about to get ugly in Denver. Well, what exactly is happening in Denver? All right, now I'll bring it up. I am keeping tabs, although not the moment, but I am keeping tabs on what is going on in Minneapolis, courtesy of a colleague of mine named Emma, who is streaming on Facebook at Emma Lee. That's EMMALEIGH. And she's been doing some excellent coverage in the middle of all of the insanity, which has included a lot of looting in Minneapolis. It looks like people are screaming Black Lives Matter out of a window up on the 5th or 6th floor, maybe even higher up. Oh, it looks like multiple people. We got someone toward the top, one floor below the top in a green shirt, peeking out the window screaming Black Lives Matter. And the protesters are now, someone's saying use Molotov. I have not seen any Molotov cocktails here, and nothing has escalated to that level. Definitely not yet. And from the sound of all the honks they're getting, there are a lot of people supporting the protesters. I'm supporting the protesters as the protesters walk right through traffic. So here's a look. We're at the intersection of Spring and 5th Street, and the protesters are walking right through traffic. And this I don't know if that was fireworks or what just went off. I don't think it was fireworks. So they're weaving their way through downtown LA while screaming "fuck the police." We had a little interesting interview going with someone who actually wanted to talk about 10 minutes ago. For those of you who are not tuned in at the time, he had a lot more to say than most people here thus far. I mean, at least into the camera. And he was talking about the LA Times being way too conservative.
Fuck the police! Fuck the police! Fuck the police!
You got some guys on bicycles chanting "fuck the police." And helicopters above. And now I think we're on Los Angeles Street, though not positive. No, we're on Main Street. Again, on Main Street and swimming upstream through traffic. Not that there's so much traffic, but protesters are weaving their way in and out of traffic. Going through some says "fuck the police" on this bus. This bus was stopped right here, and it looks like someone got it. And then there are other protesters taking photos. I did, about 10 minutes ago, film someone tagging what looked like the entrance to the LAPD garage in 2 different locations, tagged it "fuck the police." So I have seen someone already
What do we want?
spray painting graffiti.
When do we want it? Now! When do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
I was saying earlier, or just moments ago, that there was one man who had a lot to say, and he was talking about the LA Times being way too conservative, which is probably something that you wouldn't hear so much in the national conversation, but maybe that's reflective of the sentiments here. And he was also talking about how he's got various proposals for abolishing the police and replacing them with certain community institutions or another force. For instance, the sheriff's department, though he didn't seem too fond of the sheriff's department. But it was interesting he brought that up, because I have heard chants of abolish the police. I've heard that here tonight outside LAPD headquarters. And I know Emma over in Minneapolis has been talking about how people there have some sort of formal or informal movement to abolish police. Here at the intersection of 6th and Main, we've got a bicycle officer directing some traffic, and overall pretty calm situation, but some interesting attire. Fuck 12.
We talked to this guy here.
And we
were with you earlier.
oh, cool. You want to talk to the camera?
No.
We're live on YouTube.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, it's much different than, say, covering the protest against the lockdown down in Huntington Beach a few weeks back, or maybe that was a month back now, where, oh, did this bus just get tagged? Yep, this bus got tagged as well. So here you go. Fuck the police. Says as police officers ride by on bicycles. You see fuck the police on a garage leading to the LAPD building. Fuck the police on the back of buses. A lot of tagging going on, though not much in the way of violence. Let's see if we can get some more protesters to speak on camera. As I was about to say, much different. We got a chopper overhead. I'm not sure who's setting off what, but it's getting pretty noisy here. Looked like there was just a plane flying by. I don't know if I was seeing that incorrectly, but there's a helicopter overhead. And a couple vehicles stopped here as protesters walk by. What I was about to say is that the protesters down in Huntington Beach opposing the lockdown had a lot more to say. Sir, are you part of the protest? Would you like to tell me what brings you out tonight? What are you protesting? What are you protesting? Okay, yeah. Here's a look at some people inside a shop. Yeah, the protesters here, much different than those in Huntington Beach, as someone almost runs me over. Not just in terms of politics, but these protesters, aside from the one who I was having the conversation with about the LA Times and his proposals for abolishing the police, other than him, not a whole lot of luck in getting significant chatter out of protesters, at least on camera. But I'll try some more as I continue to film. We are now in the intersection of 6th and Broadway. City Hall down that direction. Some traffic building up here, not a ton, but some, as protesters weave their way in and out of cars. Let's see what this sign says. What does it say? Justice now. Black Lives Matter. I think that sign I saw right when I showed up, when the officers were on the steps outside LAPD headquarters. And the Black Lives Matter chant resumes. Police murdered George Floyd. That's what this sign says. Maybe she'll have something to say. Sirens in the backdrop. For those of you tuning in, very little violence that at least I have witnessed. Some pelting of patrol cars with water bottles and a skateboard, and I haven't seen much else in the way of violence. I have seen tagging of buses and a garage with "fuck the police." Heated. It was a very heated moment, or actually it was more than a moment, probably an hour or two, most of which was not on film, when when the protesters were standing right outside LAPD headquarters and screaming at anywhere ranging between about 5 to 15 officers who were standing out there. That was heated, but tensions didn't boil over. No more instant bloodshed. Black Lives Matter. Commenter saying bad, evil A. As a look at that chopper flying by, not hovering overhead now. And the protest is now making its way toward a freeway on-ramp. I think that's the 110 over there. I don't recall. It's been quite a few years since I've spent time here. We'll see if they go onto a highway or if they just veer back on another downtown street. And it looks like that's the plan. It looks like they're heading back up in the direction of LAPD headquarters now. You can see some workers at Veggie Grill standing outside watching, one of whom's filming the protest. Looks like this Starbucks is actually open. I highly doubt there's dining seating because that's not allowed here, but it said 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. indeed. So I guess this Starbucks is serving takeaway. That's something new. Here's a takeaway window. Oh, it looks like, there you go. You've got your proper Starbucks social distancing that you can see as the protest winds by. What does your sign say? Oh, I've seen that sign before. Now protesters are stopping. Let's see what happens. Or are they stopping? Some of them did, but it doesn't look like the group as a whole is. We can't breathe, the sign says, as you can see. I smell some smoke. Smells a bit like marijuana smoke. Not positive though. And some car's got an engine that's causing people to scatter. This car's about to do donuts. It looks like this car's about to do donuts. Well, there's an officer on a bicycle. Nope. Oh, that cop just got onto that bicycle and is heading after that car. That looks like it's going to distract a lot of people, but who knows? Maybe it's going to create some action. Yeah, that bicycle officer is following the car, but isn't going to keep up with it. What street are we on? Are we on Spring or no, Broadway? I forget. I need to check. We're at 6th Street, but I forget. I need to take a second to plug in so I don't run out of battery. I forget which street we're on at the moment. But we're heading back in the direction of the police department headquarters and City Hall. I'm pointing the camera down for a second as I try to get plugged into my new battery pack from Best Buy. My new socially distanced battery pack. All right, so we're outside the Biltmore right now. So whoever knows LA, that's where we're at, outside the Biltmore right now. I do smell more of that smoke. It does smell like marijuana, which is semi-legal. I don't think you're supposed to smoke it on the street here. Oh, we're on Grand. All right, so we're on Grand Avenue, crossing, I think, 5th Street, making our way. Someone's saying hashtag I can't breathe. There have been quite a few of those signs that I have seen. I need to pause to get this battery pack connected so I don't lose you guys like I did over at the Mexican border while entering this country. All right. Crowd is. This is the very rear of the protest. As I get plugged in, let them to put it out. Oh shit. Just about to finish with this battery pack. All right, I've got the battery pack. Is it charging? It should be. I hope it is. If it's not, I'm gonna lose you guys, but it should be charging. And I'm gonna make my way back up Grand to catch up with the protest. I think I'm charging. So here's an officer on a bike trailing the protesters, moving faster than I am. I'm also trailing the protesters, but catching up with them. And I'll take a look at some of your comments. Man, okay, got you. Are you guys getting sprayed every day? I didn't see who that comment was directed at. Commenter saying, what is going on? So I had to pause for a minute to connect my phone to my battery pack, and now I'm catching up with the protesters who are making their way up Grand Avenue, heading back in the direction where they started. Not a whole lot of action as the protesters have been weaving their way through downtown, walking through traffic. Police officers have actually been assisting them. Officers on bicycles have been stopping traffic as protesters walk by. I did spot a couple buses getting tagged with "fuck the police" while people were walking. And likewise, I filmed someone tagging "fuck the police" on the garage leading to LAPD headquarters. But nothing really major. An hour ago, not quite an hour ago, but 45 minutes or so ago, things really could have escalated when a couple of patrol cars drove up outside LAPD headquarters, and most of the crowd rushed over toward them, away from the location where they were standing and chanting, and circled the officers. And for a second, it looked like one officer who was outside of a patrol car was going to make a move on protesters, but it didn't happen. There were many protesters who circled the officers, and then the officers drove away in their patrol cars while getting pelted with water bottles and one skateboard. Possibly other objects as well. So things could have really heated up or boiled over at that moment, but they didn't. And now let's see what we've got. Protesters basically stopped here on Grand Avenue. I think we're around 3rd Street or maybe 2nd Street. Comments are saying it just got violent in Denver. I'd be interested to hear what updates you have on that situation. Any looting? None that I have seen. And as you have seen, for those of you who've been tuned in over the past 20 or 30 minutes, their business is open and people were walking by them and not storming into them. Likewise, businesses closed. People were walking by and not storming. Nothing on fire, though it got a little violent last night, so we'll see what happens. Someone's got a loudspeaker. I've got a megaphone right here. So I'll show you the setup. The police have essentially cordoned off the protest. This one's in a somewhat of an attack position. I mean, this officer, oh, something's getting, what's the smoke coming from? Some smoke, but the police are starting to get into an offensive position. You can see we're on Grand Avenue at, I can't tell if it's 2nd Street or what, but the officers are lined up. They have the entire intersection blocked. There's a police line established, and there are officers in and outside of patrol cars in and around the intersection. So suddenly, this has gone from the police guiding and assisting the protesters along their route to having completely stopped the protests and assumed somewhat of an offensive position. You have a Bernie Sanders sign with an American flag shirt here. He's someone trying. So there you can see there's a police line established, and they're not letting anyone cross it. So things could heat up now. They want fire too. Who wants fire? It did out of nowhere get smoky, although the smoke seems to have gone largely. I don't know where that smoke was coming from. As we're talking about smoke, people start chanting, "I can't breathe," but obviously for a different reason. Someone's saying this is a protest. Yes, this is a protest. And where it started outside LAPD headquarters, it was very heated.
I can't breathe.
Someone's saying this is weak.
I can't breathe.
Well, the numbers aren't so low, right? I don't think it surpassed 1,000 at any point. Maybe there are 200 protesters. Oh, Tim Truth's on. They're burning the police headquarters in Minnesota. Wow. Yeah, if you could give me any updates on that, that would be great. But now police cars coming in our direction. This could heat up. The police have established their position. They've blocked off the whole intersection. I am gonna establish a position that's not where I'm at right now, where I could get run over if they were to stampede. The numbers here aren't huge by any means. Nothing like Minneapolis. Very little violence that I've seen. But we'll see which direction this goes. And I'll try to give you a shot from the side of how the police are positioning themselves in this intersection that is Grand Avenue and 3rd Street. So Tim Truth saying huge protests in Phoenix and Denver too. A lot of people commenting about the Denver protest. I don't know what's going on in Phoenix. I mean, for that matter, I don't know what's going on in Denver. I'm just seeing people leaving comments about it. So you can see the protesters walked up Grand Avenue to 3rd Street right here, where they have been blocked off by a police line. Although it looks like police are letting people walk or bicycle on out of here if they're to go this direction or this direction. But I did see someone try to cross the police line saying they just needed to go home or something like that, and was stopped. Someone saying I wish they'd protest tax hikes. That would be a change of pace in LA. Now more officers coming directly in my direction. You see, all right, these officers look like they're getting ready to move. Now you're gonna see they're gonna come down these steps right here, or will they? Will they just block it off? Looks like they might be blocking off this exit. Oh, now they're coming toward us. So it looks like they're gonna, and more sirens in the background. This could get heated. The officers are marching, and we'll see what position they establish. Yeah, the police are shutting this down right here. War zone in Twin Cities, commenters saying. A lot of people are scared, just scurried off in this direction. Others, or most of the crowd, is walking back down Main Street, although we'll see if they get trapped there. The police have firmly established their position at Main and 3rd. And in fact, I'm even behind the police line right now. It looks like they're letting people get out. So you see, there's the intersection. Then they've come onto this plaza right here, established the police line right here. It does look like they're letting people walk this route. And now protesters are establishing a line here. So we're looking at a bit of a standoff now. A riot is the language of the unheard. So there's a pro-riot sign. It is intentionally from the lockdown. Tim's saying hit that thumbs up. Thanks, Tim. It's getting really loud here. Looks like more officers are enclosing on this intersection, and we'll see. So there are more officers coming down Main Street, heading straight into they're in patrol cars. So lots more officers pulling up, some of whom are circling around. It sounds like the police might use one of their sound cannons, not really counting, but something to declare this an unlawful assembly. I can't hear what exactly is being blasted out, but there's some noise as the protesters scream, "What do we want? Justice now." More helicopters overhead. You can see one in that direction. Police have total control of Main and 3rd Street. This officer, I guess it's his radio. There's someone trying to walk by. So now it looks like the police are directing people to leave the protest and go this way. Tear gas at the Denver protest, the comments saying. I have not seen any tear gas here, although it was a little smoky at one point, but I don't think that was tear gas. Nonetheless, it wouldn't hurt if I had a gas mask on at the moment. I do not. Maybe I should. There's what looks like a gun with, as they call it, less than lethal munition, or less lethal munition. And the officer directly in front of me or maybe multiple of them, have some recording that I can't really distinguish what's saying. I am a text from someone about Minneapolis saying explosions inside of buildings. I don't know what exactly is going on in Minneapolis, but it does sound intense. I was looking on Snapchat mats and saw 2 people protesting in a small town. Oh, it was so corny. I don't think you're referring to LA. If you are, then those numbers aren't accurate. Because we've got a dancer right over here. But it's not a huge protest by any means. I've seen much larger in LA. But the police seem to be treating it seriously. I mean, it really seems like the police were baiting the protesters into heading up to this intersection right here, Grand, and they shut it down. And the police have established multiple lines. So there's a line straight ahead where they're blocking off Grand Avenue at the 3rd Street intersection. But then they've also come onto this plaza where I'm standing, and they're blocking people in both directions. So they're blocking people who would be coming from this direction this way and coming from this direction this way, while directing some protesters to exit right through this little walkway behind these plants. And she's officer, policewoman with a gun telling me to step back. So they've got this plaza pretty much on lockdown, although they do seem to be outnumbered. And they've definitely got the intersection on lockdown. Some of the protesters are screaming directly in the face of officers, as you can see right here. And this man's screaming, "Kill yourself." This officer, I mean, this man directly ahead is staring at an officer directly in the eye, through his mask, and telling him to put a pellet in his brain. So there is some very heated rhetoric here, and there are police telling me to get back. One of whom has her arms around a gun that I believe has less lethal munition in it. Yeah, this man, well, you can't see so clearly because of the lighting, but he's wearing a big beige jacket, pretty big man, not so tall, and he's saying you're a Nazi in disguise and telling the officer to kill himself to his face. Someone's confirming the police station in Minneapolis is on fire. I have now heard that a couple times. If that's the case, then things are really heating up there, and maybe police departments around the country are taking notice and are concerned about it spreading. As it sounds from the comments like it already has, particularly in Denver, as commenters have been saying. Although I don't know what's going on in Denver, I'm learning about Denver from you guys. I am getting messages once in a while about Minneapolis, so things sound very intense there. Nowhere near the crowds here that there have been in Minneapolis, but there were definitely hundreds earlier. Hard for me to tell exactly how many people, how many protesters there are now, as the protesters have really been splintered. Tim Truth is saying the police fled their building in Minneapolis. Wow. Was that the 3rd Precinct building, Tim Truth? Was that the police building right by where the death occurred? And where all the core looting was last night? Someone saying police station gone. Tim Truth saying yes, it's been stormed the 3rd. Wow, I mean, that's a crazy development. I thought they called in the National Guard. Guess the National Guard didn't arrive in time. Nothing like that happening in LA, though a lot of very angry protesters. Someone's saying, wow, the crowd is huge. I don't know if you're referring to Minneapolis or here. The crowd here is not as large as it was at the beginning when this protest kicked off at LAPD headquarters. It's definitely dwindled down, although that's mostly occurred as the police have taken control of this intersection that is Main and 3rd. Protesters screaming justice for George. Helicopters flying overhead, though I can't see them at the moment. I can see the moon peeking in between the skyscrapers here. That's kind of a cool shot. And the I Can't Breathe chant returns as the helicopters inch in closer, though I still can't see them. So as you can see, although not so clearly, someone's saying they're gonna push me west. Well, I think I'm east of the police line, though there are multiple police lines. The protesters directly in front of me are effectively trapped. They can walk out of here for now, but if the officers were to start moving up Main, then police officers, the officers could trap. Oh, whoa, I am trapped now. Okay, where did they come from? Maybe that's not so much a laughing matter. So, as I've been filming the protest, there's now a police line here, which for my sake isn't so great. I am at the moment trapped in between this line and this line as people rush toward Grand and 3rd. Let's see what's happening there. Let's see. Oh, looks like someone might be getting arrested. Yes, yeah, it looks like there's an arrest. Yeah, someone looks like he's in a backpack. You probably can't see so clearly. Or is that an arrest? You know what? I'm not sure if that's an arrest. Lots and lots of people chanting, "Let him go." Now the police are moving in from here. So yeah, we've got one officer here. Now I need to get out of here. Where do I go to get out of here? Where do I go to get out of here? Through here? Yeah, I'm not in the best of positions here. So the police just changed their position.
Yeah, but
Push me right through these succulents here. And they're starting to move. This could get violent. The police have completely changed their position. So now, oh, someone is being arrested. We do have an arrest. And it looks like it's, no, I have not seen him before. But yes, and
See how you twist them hands?
so there you go. You're seeing an arrest, and it's not a very gentle one. So here we are at the intersection of Grand and 3rd. There is an arrest. You can see multiple officers grabbing this man. They were tussling quite a bit. He was screaming at them. Was it the dude screaming for a pellet in his brain? No, actually it is not. The man who's getting arrested is black. The man who was screaming pellet in the brain was white, I believe, but they were both wearing beige shirts and they're kind of similar size. So at first I thought that might be him, but no, this is a different man. And I don't know what prompted the arrest. I'm not in the safest of positions here. But there you go, you just saw an arrest here. So things are escalating. Last night there were no reports of arrests. Here we have an arrest and you just saw it live on YouTube. And so you can see how the police positioning has changed. They had this whole area where I am standing right now on Grand at the intersection of 3rd blocked off, and they weren't letting people go this way. But now they are allowing people to exit this way, which is kind of odd because that's where they're making the arrest. And it looks like I could even still film the arrest. Let's try to get a shot of the suspect from the front. Here we go. So here's the arrest. This is the arrest in progress. So he's saying, I'm a man just like you to the officer. I'm not gonna take that shit, bitch. There might have been a slight. Someone's commenting we need a leader. Now the interaction seems to be calming down quite a bit. He's saying, let me go, you got me handcuffed. I think you guys can hear that. Can you hear what he's saying?
What the fuck? For real, talk to me, bro. Look at me. Why would you try to twist my hand? Why do you do the shit that y'all do? Huh? Somebody please make sure I get my bike.
Where's your bike? Sir?
Sir,
I live here. I can hold it for you.
sir, have they told you why you're being detained?
That's why I'm being detained.
Have they given you a reason?
The motherfucker hit me in the chest with a baton. I told him back the fuck up, and they told me they were gonna arrest me. Plain and simple.
I was in the center of the protest too. They hit me with a baton, but they didn't
Officer,
arrest me.
officer, could you tell us why the man's being detained? I will wait. So now the man is being led in a different direction. Well, I got comments from him. We'll see. I mean, it's a little testy here with regard to whether I'm going to keep pursuing this situation. I don't want to get myself trapped. Officer, can you give the press a comment as to why he's being detained? Officer. Officer, your supervising officer's right here. Excuse me, sir, supervising officer. I don't have time right now. Could you just give one comment to the press why he's being detained or arrested? Is he being arrested? So, for those of you who can't hear, the suspect, as he's being led into the patrol car, is saying, I didn't swing at anybody. I didn't swing at anybody. Meanwhile, Lots of police vehicles pulling up right here on Grand. There's a little bit of a press box right here. I'll get over here. Although I don't have a bulletproof press vest. These guys are decked out pretty well. So, the suspect who you heard speak on this very broadcast is in the patrol car right here. You can see him fiddling with his placement in the back seat. Have not gotten any comments. You have heard him screaming that I didn't swing at anybody, and he told us directly that he was right in the middle of the protest. And I guess I'll have to review the tape later to recall what his exact comment was, but he's certainly maintaining his innocence. Okay, so there's an arresting officer. Let's see if I could get... Officer, what charges is he being arrested on?
Got a thing for running people over.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be so wise of them to run me over, but it wouldn't be so wise of me to get run over. Let's see if I can find one of those supervising officers, although this is a bit of a dangerous position. We've got a whole little gang, 2 lines deep, of officers with batons and helmets making their way into the intersection of Grand and 3rd. I would still like to get another attempt at a comment from the supervising officer that is, but I don't know if that's so plausible at this point. He told me he had no time for me anyway. So as you can possibly see, this is right in the middle of the intersection. We're at Grand and 3rd, and someone commenting, "Where's your face mask?" Although most of these guys do have masks attached to their helmet. So 3rd Street now is not blocked off. You could exit through 3rd Street, but Grand is blocked off over here, and it's not blocked off here, but these guys could shut it down at any moment. Meanwhile, is this an officer who's filming? Who is this? No, it's not an officer. But things have definitely heated up at Grand and 3rd, which, looking back, is a little peculiar, because this protest was quite calm as the protesters were walking around the streets of downtown LA, weaving their way in and out of traffic and being assisted in doing so by bicycle officers. Protest was really calm at that point. It was heated earlier, right outside LAPD headquarters, but it wasn't as the protesters were walking through the streets of downtown until this intersection where they arrived and it was blocked off. And now police are coming from... Who is that? Supervisor? Is that a sheriff's car? I'm not sure which. Anyway, so there is some... Oh, here they go. They're moving. Officers moving down Grand Avenue, now standing in the intersection with 3rd, 2 rows deep, with sirens coming. More police arriving, and they continue to move around, they continue to shift their lines, continue to push or lead people in different directions. 3rd Street remains open. You could walk. Interesting. Someone's peeking into that building. Don't know what's going on there. But for the moment, 3rd Street is not blocked off. More officers arriving in patrol cars in the intersection. There are some officers carrying what I believe are those rifles that fire less lethal munition. One was holding one and telling me to move earlier. Lots of action in the intersection. Though now it seems as though anyone who's where I'm at, which is I think north of the police line, could walk up Grand by a bunch of squad cars because there is no police line blocking it off here. In the other direction, you would be blocked off. You tried to walk down Grand, I believe that's going south. It's blocked off and the protest is splintered. And also this plaza, I think, is on lockdown now. When the officers first arrived at the intersection, they were letting people exit through the plaza. But it looks like this plaza is now on lockdown. And if you want out, you gotta go up Grand, or I guess down Grand, or head on 3rd. So people can basically leave. Doesn't look like anyone's trapped at the moment. And we'll see if the protest heats up and if there turns into a bit of a standoff here at, I think, the south end of the intersection of Grand and 3rd. Have any stores or buildings been burned down in California yet? Not as far as I'm aware of. I don't know if it's getting that bad in cities other than Minneapolis, although I haven't gotten comments saying that it's been getting bad in Denver. Officer, is there a supervising officer out here?
Yes, many of them.
Is there one I could speak to? I just want to ask a question on press, and I'd like to ask why the man was arrested who about 10 minutes ago was taken away in the squad car.
And I wish I could answer that for you. I don't know.
I mean, I just like to pose the question to a supervising officer.
Well, I'm one of them.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm one
okay.
of the supervisors, but I wasn't involved in that incident, so I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I wasn't over there where he was detained, so I'm not sure what caused that.
Well, this supervising officer was actually.
Okay. Give him a few minutes. He's dealing with
Okay, I will. I understand you've got much more pressing matters.
I would love to be able to answer your question, but I just don't know that answer. But...
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
So, perchance we'll get an answer about why the man was detained. Or, excuse me, arrested. What is the mood of the police? That's, maybe... Let's see. The two supervising officers are talking to each other right now. The one on the left is the one I just spoke with. The one on the right is the one who is the supervising officer who was present during the arrest. He hasn't given me the time of day yet, but maybe he will. So as I keep an eye on that supervising officer, I'm going to try to pose a question to. He's on a phone at the moment, and the first time I tried asking him, said he didn't have time for me. But I'll keep an eye on him while filming what's going on here. So this... Is here's okay, sir? Okay. You're welcome. So for those of you who are watching, can you hear what this lady is screaming? She's got a megaphone, but it doesn't seem to be working. Someone's saying yes. Someone's saying that lady sound mad. Now we've got a police officer filming me and filming the crowd here. So this woman at the moment saying she's tired of these bitch-ass police officers. All right, I don't want to get trapped. Again, this is the intersection of Grand and 3rd. There is a little bit of a standoff between police officers and protesters. Though not many protesters engaged in the shouting match. She's now screaming, "We are not cowards, you have nothing to say." Commenter named Baton. There's an officer walking in front of me with a hand on a baton. Someone saying, "What city is the cop station takeover?" From what I've heard, the precinct, the 3rd precinct police station in Minneapolis was taken over. But don't quote me on that, because that's what I'm getting from people commenting or texting me. I can't keep an eye on the news as I'm streaming here. Keep asking questions and describe what you see. Okay, sure thing. I'm just making sure that I don't get trapped, because I was in a position pinned in between 2 cars, and that wasn't so safe. This right here is the supervising officer that I'm trying to pose a question to about the arrest, and he hasn't given me the time of day yet. But for those of you who are just tuned in, who missed the arrest that took place, we did manage to get it on camera, and I did manage to get comment from the man as he was being arrested. He was saying repeatedly that he wasn't swinging at anyone, and that he was in the middle of the protest, and that he was just trying to protest. And I didn't get comments out of any officers, but it did get a little testy as the man who was being arrested was being dragged away by a couple officers. He was semi-swinging at them. He was swinging his arms and shoulders as he was in handcuffs, and it got pretty physical. But they did eventually pin him up against the patrol car, and then eventually put him in the car and drive him off. We did get comments and did film much of that process. Now I'll give you another look at the whole intersection. So I'm standing right in the middle of the intersection as our officers, I believe it's just the supervising officers, we're in the middle of the intersection. And you can see there are patrol cars lined up down the hill on Grand Avenue. Now they want people out. Supervising officer was just walking in my direction and stopped. He's not giving me the time of day. But so you can see they've got their little setup with, I believe, the supervisors in the center of the intersection. They've got a truck pulled up, and they've got multiple patrol cars in the intersection, and then they have patrol cars lined up on Grand Avenue and down 3rd Street. And then on the opposite end of 3rd Street, the street ends and it runs into this plaza. This plaza is completely blocked off by police now. It wasn't as first. I was filming from the plaza for a while, but they ran me out of there. Actually, the police had me walk through these succulents right here, come up the steps, and here I am. And I'll take you back to the end of the intersection where the action is. So I think this is the south end of the intersection, and you've got the police line, and on the other side of the police line, there are some protesters, a few loud ones, who are screaming at the police, and others also chanting. Someone's saying they're out of pepper spray, haha. Well, I'm not trying to find out. Now we are getting pushed out of the intersection as more officers on foot come pouring into the intersection, headed directly for this area where there's a little standoff. And it seems like they're angling people now in both directions down Grand Avenue. Someone's saying National Guard inbound. I don't know if you're referring to Minneapolis or where. So this is Grand Avenue. section of Grand Avenue that's not blocked off. And now you can see police in formation starting to charge in the direction of the protesters on the opposing end of the intersection. Plaza still blocked off. Helicopters flying not directly overhead, but definitely flying overhead still. The Black Lives Matter chant has resumed, although not nearly as loud and not nearly with as many people as there were at the beginning of the protest, when it was an idle protest standing in one place outside LAPD headquarters. But it's been about an hour and 20 minutes since people were standing outside LAPD headquarters. For those of you who didn't see, the protesters circled around LAPD headquarters and then weaved their way in and out of a bunch of downtown Los Angeles streets, during which there were bicycle officers guiding them to some extent and blocking traffic as protesters would walk right through the middle of the street. But then everything changed when the protesters arrived at this very intersection, Grand and 3rd. And I don't know exactly how long we've been here now, but maybe we've been here for 45 minutes or so, maybe something like that. Maybe even more, I'm not sure. But more and more officers pouring in. The size of the protest seems quite a bit smaller now, though it is splintered. A lot of someone, let's see if I can cross Grand Avenue to see what's going on over there. Someone talking or giving a news conference? What is... Officer?
Hey, I just want to make sure you know that when we gave the dispersal order, it was for this intersection, which means that once that is given and we start effecting arrests, if anybody remains in the intersection or on the street...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the order. What is the order?
No worries. So here's what I need you to do, though. I need you to stay on the sidewalk, and that way you won't be subject to arrest as long as you're up over here. If you're that way, or you're in this intersection...
Okay, so I'm backing up on this. What exactly is the order?
I'm not going to repeat the whole order.
No, you said one word and I didn't catch it. It's a what kind of order? Oh, so this has been declared an unlawful assembly. Okay, so there you've had it from a supervising officer. They've done their thing where they declared an unlawful assembly. Which it's been, as I was mentioning way earlier in the broadcast, it's been years since I've covered a protest in LA. The last one was Occupy LA. And I've seen them do this before, where they declare a protest an unlawful assembly, and then they effectively move in on protesters, cordon them off, position them into certain areas, and sometimes move on them, sometimes don't. So right now we're at the standoff phase. We'll see what happens. But there are cameras focused on someone. I can't tell what exactly those cameras are focused on across the street. But there are officers basically guarding all four corners of the intersection now stopping anyone from entering the intersection, which they weren't doing earlier. They waited until their numbers grew significantly, and very recently, just minutes ago, they've really shut down the entire intersection and are now threatening to arrest anyone who steps into the intersection. And now you can hear that recording. I think that's one of those unlawful assembly recordings. Although they're not blasting it loud at all. Someone's saying to go down Grand, cross, and walk back up the other side. There's not so much action. The protesters are very splintered, but there's a standoff. And if something were to cause an escalation, then police could move in at any moment. But I can get close to the standoff at what I think is the south end of the intersection. All right, here's the woman with the loudspeaker. Can you guys hear her or no? She's saying it's so disgusting, you're protecting a murderer. Ask police question. Oh, I don't think this officer is gonna. Officer, are you a supervising officer? Yeah, so now I've been effectively blocked off from all the supervising officers. Are all the supervising officers in the intersection?
There's two guys over there. I'm not sure where everybody's at behind me though.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, only the supervising officers are gonna answer anything. I mean, if at all. And now they're in the middle of the intersection and they're blocked off. So previously they were allowing me to walk around the middle of the intersection and ask questions to one or two supervising officers. It looks like those days are numbered. But we do have a shot of the lady with the pink loudspeaker.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Or she's gonna wear it. How would you feel if they shot you like?
Oh, she's starting to talk some trash directly to this one officer.
They don't have, look, you talking to them like they got a heart. They ain't got no heart.
So from what I heard, the lady with the pink megaphone is saying something like, "You got a wedding ring on." I couldn't hear it all.
License to kill.
But earlier there was some very, very intense trash talking right before
What you got a
the
shotgun for?
right before the arrest. So right before the arrest, there was a man who actually looked semi-like the suspect who was arrested, but much lighter skin color. And he was staring an officer right in the eye, basically, and telling him to put a pellet in his head. And he said that in a few different variations. So the trash talking did get intense earlier, although I don't know if that had anything to do with the arrest. It might very well have not. Right now, it's mostly the lady with the pink megaphone who's doing the talking. The protesters have really, really quieted down otherwise. She's now saying, I think from what I'm hearing, she's saying, "We black people built this shit, so how dare you kill them?" I'm guessing you guys can't hear her so clearly. She's not using the megaphone. Someone's saying she must have just got off work. Someone's saying, "I want to see her get arrested." I don't think she's at risk of getting arrested right now. But there has been one arrest. And what I filmed was indeed was an arrest. It wasn't just someone being detained. She's now saying, "Where are the Barack Obamas?" I mean, it's back to the unlawful assembly order. It's interesting that they've declared the unlawful assembly without blasting it out on some loudspeaker or sound cannon type device. But I haven't been here in recent months and years, so I don't know how they do it as of late. But you've heard it, or at least for those of you who were watching about 5 minutes ago, you heard it directly from a supervising officer that they've declared this protest an unlawful assembly. Which was quite a turn of events from earlier when the officers on bicycles were basically escorting the protesters as they marched through downtown streets. Now the chant's gonna pick back up a little bit. Someone's saying 500 National Guards setting up in Minneapolis. Well, it sounds quite late for that, based on the descriptions I've been getting of the events there. So this is the first time in about 20 minutes I've really heard the chant pick up. The chant is still not nearly as loud as it was earlier when people were outside police headquarters. But you can see people chanting, "We want justice now," over there and over here. And some chanting over on that end of the intersection. So people are cornered off on basically different sides of the intersection. A couple people on bicycles coming close to the intersection. There's a crowd that's positioned right behind me. Not very loud, but some of them are chanting. But the officers right where I'm standing right now have been very professional, I would say. Some more officers moving in over on the plaza end. Again, I was positioned on the plaza as the officers initially came in, and then they changed their positions, forced people off the plaza. Although you can now get back on the plaza if you're coming from the other direction. I think that siren is coming from the megaphone, or is it not? I think it is. We're now getting great lighting thanks to the cameraman right beside here. So you guys can now get a much better picture of the officer standing right in front of me. One commenter saying, why this location? What do you mean specifically? Do you mean why is there a protest here? Or do you mean why is the protest turned into a confrontation at this intersection? I don't know specifically what you mean. Again, we're in downtown LA at the intersection of Grand and 3rd. It seems like the protesters are much fewer numbers than they were when this started outside LAPD headquarters, but the intensity is ratcheted up a lot. Someone is saying, is there a protest at Pershing Square? If there is, I don't know. We're at Grand and 3rd Street. The Black Lives Matter chant resumes, although the Black Lives Matter chants earlier were way louder.
Fucking running from a system that benefits off the blood of people of color. No, not if you have any self-respect.
I hope you guys heard that. She was screaming pretty loud, so.
What do we want?
I kind of feel like I'm not doing my cause of justice because I'm not moved. But look, I was gonna say this about me down. Billie Eilish did something in here where she was like, everybody defined as a culture. She was like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was dope. It was like an installment they had over here. I'm sure that you can find it.
Again, these chants are very subdued compared to what they were earlier, but the intensity of the confrontation has ratcheted up a lot. The police department has declared the protest an unlawful assembly. If you step into the intersection, you're threatened with arrest. No matter, I am too. I have been threatened with arrest for stepping into the intersection. I can't breathe chant resumes. Someone commenting, police got it under control. I would say the police have this way more under control than before. Their numbers have increased significantly. The intersection is on lockdown. I can't even get to the supervising officer anymore to ask a question about the arrest. And the protest chants are much quieter than they were earlier. But the intensity has ratcheted back up a little bit over the past 10 minutes. As we are now 110 minutes into this broadcast.
In downtown Los Angeles, they're gonna use it.
Now we've got a white van, unmarked van pulling up right in the intersection. Looks like it's followed by a marked patrol car. Looked like there was a city symbol on that van, actually. Actually, this is not a marked patrol car. This is an unmarked car, although it appears quite clearly to be a police vehicle. Let's see what action might be unfolding. As you can see, the police have the intersection on lockdown. They have declared this an unlawful assembly. And sir, are you a supervising officer? Officer, are you a supervising officer? I can't tell. Can you comment on the arrest earlier? Or would you mind asking that another supervising officer told me I could pose this supervising officer a question? They're not going to give me the time of day. They did a little bit earlier. Is this what LA calls a protest? Well, like I was saying, the protesters were much louder 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours ago, right outside LAPD headquarters. And the protest calmed down quite a bit as the protesters were marching through the streets of LA, often with bicycle officers essentially escorting them and stopping traffic as they would walk. But then everything changed when the protesters arrived at this intersection, Grand and 3rd, and they were met with a blockade that has since grown significantly and has turned into what LAPD has deemed an unlawful assembly. For those of you who didn't see earlier on in the broadcast, there was minor violence that I saw on 2nd Street outside LAPD headquarters. At one point, there were 2 or 3 patrol cars that pulled up, and they pulled up beside another patrol car, and they promptly got pounded by water bottles and one skateboard, which I do think I got on camera, although I'm not positive. And it looked like there could be a physical confrontation at that point in the street between officers on foot and protesters, but it didn't happen. As the patrol cars were getting pounded, they simply drove off. And one drove off with a little dent in the side. As you can see, the plaza is blocked off, but I think you can enter the plaza from the other end right now. This is Grand. Here's another view of the intersection. And over on what I think is the northwest corner of the intersection, the Black Lives Matter chant is really getting louder. I can't go over there. Well, I mean, I could try, but they've threatened to arrest me. And this journalist or officer or whoever he is, I don't know. If he's got a relationship with LAPD or whatnot, but they're not doing anything to him. One of the officers in this circle, the one who's standing and holding a phone, and he seems to be the highest ranking supervisor here. He did see the arrest, I believe he was the supervising arrest officer for the arrest, or at least he's tried to get a comment from him and he said he didn't have time for me. But he does seem to be the one directing what's going on here. If you can tell who I'm focused on, it's the one. There's a little triangle here, 3 officers. 2 of them have little black masks on. It's the one on the left with the little black mask who's turned. Now he's not facing us, but he's the supervising officer I'm describing. So in one corner of the intersection, the protesters are picking up their chant. Over here, it's dead, and then down at this direction, someone's saying it's going down in Louisville now. I guess this is really spread all over the country. It's died down quite a bit here, which was the primary confrontation point. But there are some protesters speaking directly at this officer. This officer had a smile on his face earlier.
And you're gonna fucking laugh like it's funny.
And he's... now they're accusing him of laughing like it's funny.
We're fucking dumb.
So yeah, this officer, unlike most of the others, has smiled at a couple points. Oh, now he's commenting.
Okay, you want me to talk to you? Let me talk to you. So you think murder is right, is what you're saying? Yes. You think people can be skilled solely on their skin color? You're not gonna talk?
One of my commenters is asking if this officer is single. There you go, that got a smile out of him.
It's not a fucking joke! This is not a fucking joke!
Oh, you have a family, officer? I'm sorry, whoever was commenting, he has a family, he says. But I mean...
What if this was your kid? What if it was your kid getting shot? What if it was your kid?
So now these protesters are saying, what if it was your kid getting shot?
You're gonna work for the same system that kills people! That kills you! That kills you! Your people! You are agreeing with this! You are agreeing with this!
I'm not gonna shout out your comments, but I saw it. LOL.
You're not good! No cop is a good cop!
So we've got a protester saying no cop is a good cop.
I feel that way because did you see what happened? That man was getting wheeled on his boat. You're sorry we feel that way? Everyone should feel this way. Everyone, including you. Including you. You should be mad.
This officer has had a lot more to say than just about every other one, and a lot more in the way of facial expressions and even smiles.
Don't just agree with us, stand. Just stand wrong what you're standing for right now.
As more officers come in our direction now.
I can't breathe.
So it looks like they're getting ready to push people back. I don't know if they will, but this isn't the best place for me to be positioned right now. So yeah, they're now backing this crowd up. And I'm moving in reverse. A lot of noise on the opposite end of the intersection right now. So it looks like the police are taking their position, so they're gonna have total control of the sidewalk here. Ask if they're registered to vote. Are you referring to the protesters, I presume? I have not gotten a lot of comments out of protesters. Although earlier I did have a comment. Sure, please. Why are you here tonight?
The police's integrity on the line. Police
Well, let's back up a little bit so they can hear you better. All right. So
brutality of an innocent citizen who they swore an oath to protect and serve is treason, and they should be charged with it.
let's see. What does your sign say?
What says that?
The officers who have betrayed our country, and its people must be held accountable for treason. So what's your argument that they've committed treason?
So what's the police oath? To protect and serve. And they're serving innocent civilians, and so, you know, by dictionary definition, if they were to murder one of those citizens who they protect and serve, that's treason. That's the crime of treason.
And do you have any specific demands that they be prosecuted? Or?
My demands are that they be prosecuted, and all these other cops should be just as upset as us, and there should be taken as far to kind of resolve the situation and rectify kind of the force and how they operate all over the country. Not just here. I mean, each of these areas has a different form of whether it's police brutality or systemic racism. I mean, every area has its own kind of differences, but they all need to kind of come together. They need to come together, and they need to kind of figure out how to resolve kind of the bad apples, if you will. A lot of other people using that reference, but no, I don't think this is a fight that's just us. I think this is a fight that includes us and the police. You know, like I said, they should be just.
What about specific policing issues with regard to Los Angeles?
With regards to Los Angeles, I mean, they're pretty, I don't know, obviously I can leave things from opinion, but I'm willing to say that out here they're a lot more conscious of certain social values, but there's definitely other parts of the country that, you know, we can't just ignore and turn a blind eye to, who are not as conscious about those things.
What do you think of how the officers are handling the protest today?
I mean, so far there hasn't been any violence or source of violence, so, you know, I don't necessarily think they're doing a bad job or handling it in a bad way, but I do hope that they're not building, you know, doing what they can to fight.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, not really. Black Lives Matter, we're all equal, we should all be treated equal, have an equal opportunity, and we shouldn't have to worry about, you know, our safety from the people that are supposed to protect us.
All right, thank you. Okay, I hope you guys heard him. I saw one comment about a mic in the ear. There's a lot of background noise, obviously, but I'm presuming some of you could hear what he's saying. Earlier, there was a protester who spoke with me as we were walking for 5 minutes or so. Unfortunately, that got interrupted by me filming someone tagging "fuck the police" on LAPD, some garage leading to LAPD headquarters. So there are some protesters who want to talk. Several haven't wanted to talk. I have been seeing comments about Minneapolis on fire and this is nothing. Well, relatively speaking, this is nothing. Although there was an arrest right here. I'm actually standing right where it was basically right here, where I'm standing right now, where the man who was arrested was taken away in a squad car, and he was tussling with the officers. That got pretty intense. Very limited violence that I've talked about already. Hours ago, people throwing water bottles and a skateboard at police cars. I saw a dent in a police car, lots of graffiti. I've seen buses getting tagged. But yeah, there's nothing on fire here. Very, very calm compared to Minneapolis. But nonetheless, LAPD still declared this an unlawful assembly, and this protest got a lot more intense than it was before when the protesters were walking through the street. I kind of like their new setup, how they're completely blocking off the intersection, because this allows me to stand on this overpass and look down and film it. Someone's...
In broad fucking daylight. charge her boyfriend? Are you kidding me? You're splitting to charge her boyfriend? Fuck you! Justice for Breonna Taylor! Justice for fucking Ahmaud Arbery! Fuck the 1-2! Fuck you!
You guys were heroes.
All right, so someone's commenting they're squaring up, and be careful. And that's correct. They have squared up this intersection, but I did want to film her. All right, some funny comments. Tell her to run for city council. Let's see if I can track her down. Where did she? Oh, she might do round 2. Let's see.
They blocked us in, everybody! Be careful! They blocked us in!
We're all getting arrested. You ain't getting arrested. Nobody's gonna pick up on my ass.
So I can't tell, but let's see if I can ask an officer whether Grand Avenue is blocked off or blocked in. It's clearly blocked off in this direction. The whole intersection is blocked off now. We've got a skateboarder out here. To some extent, it seems like this protest was dying down and might have died down altogether, but once this intersection became more and more cordoned off and there was an unlawful assembly declared and more officers arrived, it seems to have reinvigorated the protest. Wow, where's that coming from? I presume that's someone revving their engine down here, but I can't tell. Well, the lady in the white sweater is now getting right up in officers' faces and screaming Black Lives Matter at them.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
So now you can see officers lined up across the intersection of Grand and 3rd, hands on batons. They could be getting ready to move. Or they could be trying to wait everyone out. We'll see. Some of the protesters who you recently saw right over here screaming at the officer who's smiling are now positioned right here, staring down officers. So, someone's saying it's going to be a wrap for this Karen if she slips. Well, it looks like she'd have to slip physically, because it doesn't look like it doesn't look like she's going to verbally trigger them into moving. Someone's saying 20% of the officers probably speak English, if I read that correctly. I think it's 100% of them. Police are everywhere except the ghettos. There are a lot of homeless encampments around here. Walked by a few of them, or a couple of them, as this protest was weaving in and out of downtown. Or never left downtown, weaving through downtown and in and out of various streets and traffic. Let's see who's got this boombox. Pretty calm, although there are protesters quite close to the police line. LOL, only 20% speak English, she said. I could pose the question to the officers. I don't think I'm gonna get a response. Here it is, police line. Someone's saying looks ready. Should I say so? LOL, you referred to that girl as a Karen. Yeah, I think you're referring to the girl in the white sweater. I'd actually like to do a little interview with her. She pops back up here. Just beat a drum. That's how they riled people up in the past. When I started this broadcast back outside LAPD headquarters, where people were just standing and screaming at the police, a lot louder than they are now, there were people banging on something really loud. I forget what it was. Uh-oh, I'm seeing some bad news. Seeing me some bad news about something in Minneapolis. I am a bit concerned about what's going on in Minneapolis. I'm hearing from someone who's there that someone is in a difficult situation. Nothing like Minneapolis here in terms of severity and in terms of rioting, but here we are, hours into this protest in downtown LA. Someone sitting on the ground right here, someone walking in front of the police line with a boombox. Here we go, someone getting right up in the face of an officer. Let's see if we have an interaction going. Lots of Karen jokes.
I'm talking to my boy, bro. I'm talking to my boy. Can I talk to my boy?
I'm pressed. I'm just saying they're filming. That's all I'm doing. Go right ahead. I'm standing right here and filming.
We're both brown, so you wouldn't understand this conversation.
What I do understand is that there's the First Amendment, and I'm exercising my First Amendment right. I mean, I don't mean any harm toward you. I'm just
like, you wouldn't understand this conversation, I'm telling you.
Well, go ahead. If I don't understand a thing, no problem. Seemed like a very cordial interaction. I mean, not with me. Obviously, the protest is with me filming it. And you guys probably couldn't hear me, but he seemed very... What? That tripped me out a bit. So, someone... There's a vehicle here.
What is that? What?
Wow.
What is that?
Just set up a shitload of... Some vehicle
What the fuck?
is setting off a shitload of exhaust here.
They're all doing the exhaust thing. Come on.
Oh, man. Woo. I don't know if that's police that have a vehicle down there setting off exhaust, or if it's a supporter or whoever. I don't know who it is, but there's a vehicle down here setting off a lot of exhaust. I don't know if it's that white SUV that you're now looking at. Someone's saying it's a Dodge Charger, which maybe that is a police vehicle. Let's see if I can get a shot. Oh, I just breathed in a lot of crap. All right, here we go. We've got a cop car tagged fuck 12 right here. I think you guys can see that. Well, let's see what the commenters are saying. Cybertruck, oh no exhaust, oh the humanity. Well, I mean, I have, say, been in Uganda and been riding on a motorcycle taxi, and it pulls up right behind a massive truck and I get exhaust directly to the face. So this isn't the worst I've gotten, but I don't want to breathe it in anyway. I guess it's better than some tear gas to the face. I do not see this Dodge Charger that one protester was talking about. Oh, I can't get a shot of that. I see a few vehicles here, and I mean, I don't know if he's correct. I don't know if there is a Dodge Charger down there. If there is a Dodge Charger down there setting off exhaust, perchance it is an LAPD thing. I don't know. There are patrol cars lined up down Grand Avenue in this direction, but we're not blocked in. They just have the intersection blocked off. I mean, granted, we're not blocked in at the moment. Who knows what could transpire, and I've seen something like that happen before covering Occupy LA here. Let's head back toward the intersection of Grand and 3rd. Ooh. Someone's saying USA destroyed near. Maybe my audience over in Europe and Turkey and elsewhere are waking up now. I don't know. What time is it? Lots of flyers in Minneapolis. I guess fires, I don't know what. In Minneapolis tonight. Yeah, I've heard very bad things about what's happening in Minneapolis. Nothing like that here. Everything's peaceful at the moment, but intense nonetheless. LAPD has declared this an unlawful assembly. The intersection of 3rd and Grand is blocked off. It looks like only supervising officers in the middle of the intersection now, with officers with baton blocking off both sides of Grand and protesters screaming at them. And commenters talking about Karens. Let's see if this lady wants to speak. Excuse me, I've got a live YouTube audience. Would you like to talk to them? What brings you out here tonight? Oh, did you lose your voice?
No,
okay.
I'm like upset. I'm upset. That's why I'm here. I'm upset because white people keep killing people for no reason.
You said white people or white people?
White people keep killing
Okay,
people
so
for no reason.
you're upset that white people are...
Yes.
Okay.
People that look like me keep killing black and brown people for no fucking reason. That is why I'm here. I'm here because the cops do it. I'm here because somebody who looks like me, somebody who looks like my brother, somebody who looks like my dad is killing people in broad daylight for no reason. No reason. For reasons based on discriminatory beliefs. On bullshit. That is why I'm here.
And how would you like to see that changed?
I would like to see us take accountability for that. I would like to see us do more anti-racism work in our own community, in our day-to-day life. I'd like to see reparations for black people. I would like to see abolish this system right here. This system.
This is bad because it's not okay to murder people.
Not built to keep people safe.
You want to abolish LAPD or abolish police altogether?
In general.
So
Needs to start fresh.
This
system was built to catch enslaved people. This wasn't started to keep people safe. This wasn't started to keep people safe. And there's a reason why only white people think police are here to keep people safe. Because that's the only thing they know. And they're about to do some crazy shit to us right now.
Yeah, I'd like to continue the conversation, but I want to pick a new position. Oh. Yeah, we are cordoned in here. So now they've got a loudspeaker blasting out that this is an unlawful assembly order. I cannot see if the officers have blocked off Grand in that direction. Oh, okay, they're now saying you have 5 minutes to disperse.
It's okay, they'll separate our court case.
Maybe the woman I just interviewed has some experience with this sort of citation before.
This way! This way! This way! This way! They said this way we can disperse! Everybody disperse!
Alright, well, I don't want to get trapped in here. Let's say which way I can get out. If I can get out going what I... Well, now they're blasting it in Spanish. So here they are, now they've blocked off 3rd Street, and they're letting people go up and down Grand Avenue. Meanwhile, protesters screaming whose streets are streets, while they're being told that they have 5 minutes to disperse, in both English and Spanish. Frankly speaking, I don't like this notion of declaring what amounts to a First Amendment free zone, kind of the opposite of a free speech zone. But I'm not in the mood to get trapped somewhere, so I'm gonna back up a bit. Tim Truth saying deprivation of rights under color of law. It's been interesting watching how LAPD has handled this. As I've been saying earlier, this protest was really dying down as the protesters were marching through the streets of downtown LA, and at some points essentially being escorted by LAPD officers on bicycles. However, when we arrived at the intersection of Grand and 3rd, that all changed. It looks like a lot of the protesters are staying put. This could turn into some confrontation, which I don't really want to miss, but I also don't want to get trapped either. At this point, Grand is pretty open, and I'm going to take a look over here, see if there's an escape route. Oh, someone's saying stay or unsub. LOL. So I'm going to see if there's a route for me to get out of here. If there is, nope. So how do you get out? I was gonna head out this way. I mean, not head. Someone's saying get back. What I was saying is that I was gonna find a way out before heading back, cover what's going on here. And it looks like LAPD has this all blocked off right here. Looks like I can walk down Grand, so let's hope that remains open. And keep an eye on what's going on with the protesters over at Grand and 3rd. As you can see, some protesters are now leaving, probably walking in both directions down Grand. Can't walk down 3rd. Now it looks like more and more of them are leaving. I presume some will remain, though, for a confrontation with the police. I'm saying yellow school buses are coming. Are you joking or serious? I mean, I don't think they need buses to round up arrestees, because I don't think there have been so many. But I have seen them before bring out buses, not yellow school buses, but I have seen them bring buses to to load people into whom they arrested at Occupy LA. Someone's saying he would get bailed out at $0, so it makes no sense to get arrested. Yeah, there's a zero bail rule in effect in California at the moment because of the attempt to reduce jail population during the pandemic. And that applies to, I think, all non-violent crimes. But it seems like most of the protesters are dispersing. I'm keeping an eye on the situation. Some leaving on bicycles, most leaving by foot. But it appears almost everyone is leaving. I'll take a quick peek, and then I'm probably gonna head back with this crowd in this direction down Grand as sirens and appears more officers are coming. Now you've got a car driving down Grand. They've somewhat opened it back up to traffic. Someone's saying nice car. And lots of sirens. So I'm going to take one quick peek and then head back in the direction where everyone's leaving. Some kind of chant. Alright. So there's like a handful of protesters standing ground right over here. I can't tell on the other side of the intersection. Lots of sirens coming in, most people leaving. So I think I'm just gonna back up and film while walking backwards. For whoever was leaving the comments about school buses, I don't think there's school buses coming in. Were you joking? If they are indeed bringing buses in here, then that's not a good sign. But I don't think they need buses because assessing Josh, you've done a man's job, sir. Thank you very much to the commenter. I don't think they need buses tonight because there just aren't that many people left to arrest. If they were going to arrest the whole crowd earlier, they'd need buses, but not now. And plus, I don't know if it would even be an arrest or a citation in terms of a violation of their order that they gave. Well, sirens picking up. You can see police lined up along Grand Avenue. Although Grand Avenue is basically open, I think in both directions, but I'm not positive. Right now I'm heading in the opposite direction of LAPD headquarters, where the protest began. And it seems to just about completely died down. School bus is full of National Guardsmen. Where? To the commenters who are saying that, where are the school buses full of National Guardsmen? Something might be happening back at the intersection. Someone was screaming out something over the loudspeaker. I couldn't tell if that was the police or the protesters. LAPD will knock some heads. One commenter is saying that could possibly be the case. All right, yeah, the LAPD is screaming out over some megaphone to disperse and walk down Grand. So they really have asserted control of that intersection. They've run just about everyone out of the Grand and 3rd intersection, and they're threatening to cite or arrest. I don't know which one it is, but they're threatening people, if anyone, who's left there as I'm walking down Grand, which is open. Although not open to pedestrians who want to walk into this plaza right in front of the skyscraper. Minnesota is out of riding LA right now. That's crazy, huh? I didn't get that one. So let's see if you guys can tell. It's not great lighting, but there are police officers lined up right here, blocking off the plaza to it's in front of this skyscraper and beside these skyscrapers. However, Grand Avenue is not blocked off. There are a lot of squad cars right here. Sirens in the background. Squad cars all lined up here. I'm gonna see if there's police presence. Oh, here comes a siren. Yep, so they're patrol cars with their the officers getting out of these patrol cars on Grand Avenue, and officers on bicycles over here, and yeah, they're taking over Grand Avenue for a stretch between 3rd Street, and I don't know how far back we are now, and presumably in the other direction as well. Patrol zone. A bunch of patrol cars just pulled up right here with their lights flashing, and officers just popped on out of them. And meanwhile, their officers on bicycles are standing beside their bicycles blocking this little crosswalk. So they're not letting people turn off of or walk off of Grand Avenue until they get all the way down to, I'm not sure which street this is, but once I get down to this intersection right here, then it looks like I'm free to walk around anywhere. And I would like to loop back toward, I'm gonna flip the camera around. Let's see, there we go. Now you guys get to see my face in the mask for the first time in 2 hours, which actually I don't need the mask right now. There's no one around me. So here, what is this intersection? It's Grand and what? I can't tell. Grand and what's the cross street? 5th? I'm not positive. Oh wow, a boatload of officers. Let me flip the camera around. So patrol cars coming up 5th or whatever street this is, and whoa, they have this blocked off too. Now they're all turning on Grand. They're really asserting control of Grand. But it looks like they have this blocked off here also. So I guess I can't even, maybe I can walk down here. I'm not positive. Let's see if I get out of here, all right? Lots of sirens downtown. Although some streets, looks like normal movement of traffic, at least during coronavirus times. And here we go. Here's a police SUV surrounded by another SUV. These might be supervisor cars, I don't know. And you've got motorcycles that are blocking off this street that I believe is 5th to everyone but officers. Is this Pershing Square? It's been so many years since I've walked around the center of my hometown. I think this is Pershing Square. So yeah, so this is 5th and was it Spring? I'm not positive. Oh, what was she saying? I missed what she was saying. She was saying the street name. Who is the commenter saying interview the officer? Was that what you're saying? With none of the officers who are not supervisors give me comments of any real significance. Not that the supervising officers were either, although one I was able to pose the question to what was the arrest about, and he told me he didn't have time for me. So you can see that they've got this whole, I'm gonna flip it around. They've got this whole area leading up to Grand Avenue completely blocked off, but I'm out of there now, so. What's that? Huh? Oh, there's a protest, and LAPD declared it an unlawful assembly and threatened to arrest or cite everyone. About the George Floyd killing in Minneapolis. Okay, so let's flip this around. Someone's saying they all got stoned and the cops told them to go home. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make my way back from a different angle to the to somewhere within the vicinity of Grand and 3rd. I'd like to see what's going on there, but I don't really want to push it with these officers. I don't agree that they should be declaring that a zone where free press is not allowed. I don't agree with that whatsoever, but I'm also not going to get myself trapped in between a bunch of them needlessly. Let's see, democracy, this is USA near. What press agency are you with? I write for a few different news publications. One in California is called CalCoast News, but this YouTube channel I operate independently of the news organizations that I work for. It's just my personal YouTube channel that you're watching. I need to breathe. So I see people are still tuned in. I'm gonna try to peek as I get closer to 3rd Street. Try to see if I can get any action. If not, then I'll just wrap up the stream. Breathe, man. Yeah, I really need some breath. That exhaust that I breathed in, that didn't taste so good. And combination of wearing a mask most of the time and walking around a lot and talking. I'm a bit out of breath, but I'm all right. I could keep going for another few hours if need be. Let's see. So I'd like to make my way back in the vicinity of LAPD headquarters, see who of anyone is outside. Monty's saying, hope you'll be there for the next protest. Which protest? Normally, I am not in Los Angeles or California or the United States for that matter, even though this is where I'm born and raised. Normally, I'm all over the world, often covering protests, but stuck here for the time being. Free press allows fake news. Oh, here we go. I realized I was 30 minutes behind live. I don't know what you're referring to. I'm making my way back in the direction of LAPD headquarters, which is right next to City Hall. I don't know if there's any action out there. Last night there was action on the 101 freeway, Highway 101. There were Black Lives Matter protesters who blocked off the highway and temporarily, and there were altercations involving a couple police cars. Someone saying appreciate you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you watching and chiming in. So last night there were a couple altercations between Black Lives Matter protesters and CHP officers in their vehicles. The vehicles ended up getting their windows smashed on Highway 101 as the protesters were walking around on Highway 101, and there was one protester who was sitting on top of the hood of one of the patrol cars and fell as the car drove off. So there was some serious action on the freeway last night. I don't know if there's been any repeat of that. I did hear there was a protest down in the Santa Monica or Venice Beach area. I don't know if that came to fruition, but I mean, there's clearly action here in downtown LA. So there's City Hall lit up, the blue. I think I'm around 3rd Street now. Oh, but you know what? There's this hill here, and I just passed this famous lift that I'm drawing a blank on. I don't think I can make my way up there. They have Grand Avenue pretty well blocked off. I'll try to peek. What street is this? Oh, this is 3rd Street. Okay, so I guess now, if I were to walk through this tunnel where you see a couple of homeless people camped, I think this would put me underneath the protest. I mean, where the protest was. Let's see if I hear anything. Here's a little shot at some of the realities of life in Los Angeles. I know I got requests to cover homelessness prior to returning to the States a few months back. So I think it's that pickup truck right in front that's honking. So this street that turns into the tunnel is 3rd Street. I think this puts me right underneath Grand Avenue. Let's see if I can hear anything as I walk in this tunnel. Do you have any pepper spray, bro? No, I don't. Sorry. Are you concerned about me getting attacked here? Potentially. I don't know if that's what your concern is. So let's see if I can hear anything other than the sound of these cars driving by. People are saying it's scary now, be safe. I mean, there's someone sitting on the sidewalk up ahead. It's pretty well lit in here. Maybe it's not the safest place, but it's pretty well lit. I'm all right at the moment. Let's see some more comments. Super Mario might jump out and take advantage of you. Potentially. Anything is possible. Fellow freelance journalists, do you think it'll be worth coming out to downtown LA right now? I don't know. The show is over for the most part, but I don't know if there are people getting arrested or cited or rounded up by police over at Grand and 3rd right now. Almost everyone, watch out for the tweakers. Viva Venezuela. I've been putting out a lot of content lately regards relating to Venezuela. So, with regard to the commenter who's saying you're a freelance journalist, I don't know what's left of the action at Grand and Third. I'm going to try to get a peek once I pop out this tunnel, which will be momentarily. My guess is it's really died down. My guess is it's pretty much died down, but I don't know for sure. Almost everyone had left. Doesn't start fires tonight, y'all. Week in LA. Yeah, I haven't seen any fires here. There are some people over here. Now I hear police sirens. Let's see what I see when I pop out. You aren't HK, go home, watch TV. St. Paul and Minneapolis looted. Yeah, I've heard some really bad things happening there. All right, I'm not sure where exactly I popped out. I think I went underneath Grand Avenue already. I'm not positive, but I think I did. If so, I think. Yeah, this is Flower Street. Okay, so let's flip the camera around. And get an Uber. That's a good one. I think the action is basically right up there. If there's anything left of it. I'm sure there's a large police presence left. But I don't know if there are protesters left. And I can't see from this vantage point. But if there's action, it should be right up there. Someone saying, thanks for answering the question. I don't know if you're the freelance journalist, but yeah. And I'm at somewhat of a dead end here. Yeah, so that's it. I can't get a better vantage point than that. I am going to head back over to City Hall, but to the police headquarters and City Hall. But I think we might as well wrap the broadcast up now. If, for whatever reason, I stumble upon some shit going down, wherever that might be tonight in downtown LA, then Skid Row is always entertaining at night. That's another story. This isn't going to be a Skid Row broadcast. But I mean, if for whatever reason I come across more police action involving the protesters, then I'll go live in a second video in this same place. But at the moment, I'm not anticipating that. And I don't really have anything left to show you for now. So stay tuned to the channel if you want to catch more action. And in the case that I do catch more action, I'll go live. But at the moment, I don't foresee it. So, wow, we're 169 minutes deep into this broadcast. Thank you very much to everyone who's been tuned in, especially the people who've been tuned in throughout. I'm sorry to hear about the situation in certain places, for instance, Minneapolis, and I'm going to go figure out what's going on there now. But yeah, stay tuned to the channel for lots more reports live and on the ground around the world, typically. But for now, I guess in Los Angeles. And yeah, I'm very appreciative of all you watching and commenting. Sorry I can't get to all your comments, but more to come in the future. So stay tuned to the Josh Friedman channel for live and on-the-ground reports from around the world. Good night from downtown Los Angeles.